Journey into the realm of political philosophy, where the nature of justice takes center stage. Dive deep into the riveting debate, where ideals clash and only the most compelling arguments surface. Stay tuned for a thought-provoking exploration. Welcome to TopThangs, where we unravel the complexities of human thought and society. Today, we journey through the intricate maze of political philosophy and the quest for justice. From Plato's ideal republic to Rawls' egalitarian principles, we'll navigate the riveting debates that have shaped our understanding of a just society. Join us as we explore the timeless questions of rights, duties, liberty and equality, and how these ideas have evolved from ancient times to our modern digital era. Ready to challenge your perspective? Let's dive into the intellectual battleground, where the nature of justice is ceaselessly debated and redefined. Political philosophy and the nature of justice. How should society be structured? What constitutes a just social order? Such questions have animated political philosophy since antiquity. By examining major thinkers from Plato to Rawls, we can navigate perennial debates on the ideal state, democracy, rights, duties, equality, liberty, and the common good. We will begin with paradigmatic theories of an ideal republic in Plato, civic participation and virtue in Aristotle, and social contract theory emerging in Hobbes and Locke. Against these rationalist frameworks, we will explore objections from empiricist and realist critics like Hume and Machiavelli, who infuse politics with human complexity. After assessing Hegel's dialectical account of historical progress, we arrive at the modern clash between Marx's critique of capitalism and liberalism's defenses. Lastly, we will assess Rawls' theory of justice and Nozick's libertarian challenge, which exemplify current divisions between egalitarian and individualistic conceptions of justice. This survey demonstrates that despite vast differences in context, foundational disputes persist on aligning individual rights with collective welfare, balancing liberty with equality, and impartially adjudicating competing conceptions of the good life. By illuminating these enduring themes through influential works, we can deepen understanding of political philosophy's intricate efforts to conceive justice and establish reasonable bases for the state's authority. Plato's Republic, an ideal justice. Plato's Republic is arguably the foundational text of Western political philosophy. Written around 375 BCE, it covers topics of justice, governance, social structure, morality, and metaphysics through a dialogue between Plato's mentor Socrates and interlocutors. Socrates proposes the ideal city-state arises when different social classes stick to their natural roles and don't interfere, likening rulers to wise guardians, enforcers to protective guardian dogs, and the majority of citizens to obedient children. Rigorous education and selection prepares philosopher kings to rule justly guided by reason and wisdom. Utopian features like abolishing family and private property further promote social cohesion and harmony in Plato's ideal republic. This rationalist blueprint opposes Athenian democracy, which Plato saw as unstable mob rule that executed his teacher Socrates. Plato wanted order imposed from the top down by enlightened rulers rather than unstable democratic participation. The Republic reflects philosophically reasoned principles rather than accommodating contingencies of actual politics. But Plato's ideal of a just, rationally ordered society governed by wisdom deeply influenced Western thought. Aristotle and virtuous participation. Aristotle's politics differs substantially from Plato's Republic by emphasizing good governance arises through active, virtuous participation in civic and political life by the people. Rule purely by enlightened elites, as Plato envisioned, ignores this education in citizenship. Aristotle located the good life for humans in developing virtues through practical reason and habits to achieve excellence. Politics was natural, since humans are political animals seeking communal fulfillment. The state should reflect shared visions of the common good developed through engaged deliberation. Citizens are not private individuals but co-authors of law and community. While not fully democratic, Aristotle's vision decentered Platonic philosopher kings seeking justice and fulfillment through ethical civic participation. Key ideas include constitutional plurality, different regimes suit different polities, balancing material and virtue to promote flourishing, and that rights come with duties to community. Aristotle's empiricism and civic focus inspired future thinkers emphasizing engaged citizenship and deliberation in political society as central to human excellence. Social contract theory, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau. Social contract theory emerged in the 17th to 18th century as a model for legitimizing state authority based not on divine right, but consent between individuals and government. Thinkers like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau developed varying social contract models for creating just societies through mutual self-interest. Hobbes, security overall. Writing amidst the English Civil War's turmoil in Leviathan, Hobbes infamously describes pre-political life as a state of nature that is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. To escape violence, humans agree to an absolute sovereign with unchecked power to impose security, since any limitation could return people to anarchy. Liberty and rights are transferred entirely to the sovereign. Order has absolute priority for Hobbes. Locke, rights and consent. Locke in two treatises of government evokes a more peaceful state of nature to argue for limited government based on consent and protecting natural rights. Locke asserts inalienable rights to life, liberty and property that government should secure. Crucially, the social contract is mutual. Citizens grant conditional consent and retain the right to revolt if government violates its terms. Locke limited absolutism and began justifying government through rights, not order. Rousseau, the general will. Rousseau's The Social Contract evoked an idyllic noble savage in early egalitarian communities and argued for direct democracy based on the general will or common good. Government should reflect people's shared, uncoerced interests rather than imposing order. Rousseau valued radical equality and participation as enabling freedom through identification with the general will versus partial interests. His ideas inspired future Democrats and critics of liberalism who argue rights cannot supersede inequality and exploitation. These theories introduced foundational, liberal themes of individual rights, consent, the rule of law, and private property that critically shaped modern democracy and limited government. Skeptical and prudential views, Hume, Machiavelli. Not all accepted rationalist models of ideal government. Empiricists like David Hume in England and prudential realists like Machiavelli in Italy contested top-down theories and utopian assumptions about reason or virtue ordering society. They argued politics emerges from human passions and self-interest, not abstract ideals. Hume, reason's slave to passions. Influential empiricist philosopher David Hume stressed that reason itself depends on passions and sentiments. In Treatise on Human Nature, he observes how reason is and ought to be slave of the passions. Abstract reasoning alone cannot move people without desires and interests. Hume also critiqued social contract theory for imputing consent where tacit submission to authority was driven by utility. Additionally, he argued that balance of power and economic interdependence, not imagined pacts, explain the rise of governments. Machiavelli, prudence over morality. Machiavelli and the Prince scandalized contemporaries by advising rulers to use calculated violence, deception, and prudent management of passions to maintain power, rather than rely on virtue or divine sanction. Infamously declaring, "It is better to be feared than loved," Machiavelli saw morality and politics as intrinsically separate spheres with different rules. He remains the archetype of pragmatic statecraft focused on stability and wise leadership, not utopian dreams. These thinkers introduced vital tensions between reason and sentiment, morality and power into political philosophy that remain unresolved. Their imprint is clear in liberal and conservative pragmatists alike. Hegel and Marx, Idealism, Materialism, Dialectics. Two titans of 19th century German thought, G.W.F. Hegel and Karl Marx, pioneered holistic analyses of politics, history, and society. Their dialectical approaches opposed reductive individualism and sought overarching unity through synthesis. Hegel, Dialectics to Freedom. In works like Phenomenology of Spirit and Philosophy of Right, Hegel portrayed history as the dialectical unfolding of absolute spirit through contradictions between opposing forces. Each stage contains seeds of its own overcoming, as exemplified by master-slave dialectics, where oppressed slaves gain independent consciousness. Hegel saw the modern state as resolving conflicts between particular and universal interests through shared ethical life that harmonizes individual freedom and rational institutions. Critics argue Hegel rationalized Prussian authoritarianism, but he inspired future dialectical approaches to social change, Marx, revolution, and emancipation. Where Hegel saw gradual reconciliation, Marx cast dialectics as violent class struggle. In the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital, Marx argues that capitalism's contradictions between the bourgeoisie owners and proletariat workers necessitate its revolutionary overthrow. A socialist dictatorship of the proletariat will lead to ideal communist society without class, state, or private property. Marx detailed how capitalism concentrates power and commodifies humanity through alienating labor. His sweeping dialectical theory of revolutionary social change inspired millions. Critics counter that his utopian predictions ignored human nature and rights, but Marxism remains a paradigm-challenging figure in political philosophy. 20th century liberalism and critics. Marxism's ascent prompted revival of liberalism, but new radical critics like feminists also exposed its limitations for marginalized groups. Liberalism renewed. John Stuart Mill, John Rawls, and Isaiah Berlin reinvigorated liberalism by clarifying its core principles suiting modern pluralist societies. Key ideas include individual liberty, incremental reform over utopianism, constrained government and impartial rule of law, value pluralism and rights-based justice. They presented liberalism as starting from basic liberties, not a comprehensive worldview. It should maximize freedom but also needs pragmatic state action to remedy social inequities. Liberal reforms avoided Marx's revolutions but acknowledged many injustices. Feminist and post-colonial critiques, thinkers like Simone de Beauvoir, Frantz Fanon, and Edward Said compellingly criticized liberalism's notion of the abstract, disembodied individual as masking exclusion of women, racial minorities, and colonized peoples from political participation and rights. Beauvoir exposed how treating women as men's other renders their perspectives invisible. Fanon and Said examined psychological and cultural impacts of dehumanization under colonialism. By detailing oppression within purportedly universal liberal societies, they catalyzed awareness of the need for diversity and inclusion. Communitarian critiques. Communitarian philosophers like Charles Taylor and Alasdair MacIntyre also questioned liberal individualism, arguing that identity and values emerge from cultural context and social groups, not in isolation. They saw liberalism as unable to provide meaningful communal bonds or moral foundations. However, communitarians faced criticism that underscoring traditions can justify limiting dissent and difference. These critiques significantly impacted liberal theory by exposing the importance of culture, identity, and social roots for a just politics of inclusion. Rawls and Nozick equality versus liberty. John Rawls and Robert Nozick represent seminal late 20th century liberal and libertarian thinking, sparking debate through their contrasting theories of just societies. Their differing views on equality and rights continue to shape political discourse. Rawls, justice as fairness. In A Theory of Justice, Rawls argues justice requires fair equality of opportunity and redistributing social advantages behind a veil of ignorance, where no one knows their status, thought experiments that compel unbiased consideration. Rawls contends that just institutions must provide equal liberties for all. Further, inequality can only be justified if it benefits society's least advantaged, maximizing their opportunities. Rawls's justice as fairness resonated widely as a compelling case for egalitarian liberalism. Critics argue the mental exercises behind the veil of ignorance are unrealistic and justify excessive state power to enforce equality. But his principles framed key debates. Nozick libertarian rights. Nozick in Anarchy, State and Utopia countered Rawls by arguing only a minimal night watchman state upholding core rights is justifiable. Nozick rejected patterned end-state principles of justice like Rawls. Instead, justice follows from respecting liberty and property rights, including acquired rights. Nozick saw no inherent injustice if differences arise from free exchange. The state's role is solely protecting rights and contracts, not imposing any particular distribution. Nozick reinvigorated libertarian objections to egalitarian liberalism. His minimal state based on rights alone continues to influence political thought. Critics maintain it fails to redress deep unfairness and hierarchies. This debate profoundly shapes contemporary politics. Contemporary Developments in Political Philosophy, 2024. In 2024, political philosophy has witnessed significant advancements, embracing contemporary issues and integrating diverse perspectives. This chapter explores these latest developments, highlighting their impact on traditional political theories. Technological impact and political theory. The digital revolution has necessitated a re-evaluation of classical political theories. Scholars have begun exploring the implications of artificial intelligence, data privacy, and cyber governance on concepts of freedom, rights, and state authority, environmental ethics, and global politics. There is a growing focus on environmental ethics within political philosophy, examining the rights and duties of states and individuals in addressing climate change. This shift reflects a recognition of the global, interconnected nature of contemporary environmental challenges, identity, culture, and post-colonialism. Recent works have increasingly addressed issues of identity, culture, and the impacts of colonialism on political structures. This includes a deeper exploration of how historical injustices continue to shape current political dynamics and the need for more inclusive governance models. The field of political philosophy in 2024 is marked by a dynamic expansion of its traditional boundaries. By incorporating contemporary challenges and diverse perspectives, it continues to evolve, offering new insights into the nature of justice and the ideal structure of society. Justice as balance and process. What conclusions can we draw from this survey? Crucially, no single foundational principle, be it Plato's rational order, Marx's material equality, or Nozick's libertarian rights, suffices alone to create just, sustainable societies. Justice likely rests upon balancing multiple principles that pull in different directions. Furthermore, ideal models must adapt to changing social contexts and injustices. Justice is an imperfect provisional process, not a utopian end state, but debating justice remains vital. From ancient codes of civic virtue to activism against today's overlapping inequities, political philosophy develops our normative horizons and helps guide incremental reforms. Returning to seminal thinkers clarifies enduring themes of rights, duties, liberty, and equality that should enlighten contemporary citizens and leaders alike as we work to align politics with justice in our age. As we conclude our exploration of political philosophy and the nature of justice here on TopThangs, we're left pondering the balance between individual rights and collective welfare, liberty and equality. How do you perceive the ideal state in our ever-evolving society? Are there aspects of justice we've yet to fully grasp or reconcile? We invite you to share your thoughts and join the conversation below. If there's a philosopher or theory that intrigues you or a current political issue you'd like us to dissect, let us know. As we continue to align our political structures with the ideals of justice, remember that your voice and understanding play a crucial role. Subscribe for more thought-provoking content as we navigate the ever-changing landscape of human society together. Thank you for watching Thangs. Sources: Aristotle, Politics, University of Chicago Press, 2013, Berlin Isaiah, Liberty, Oxford University Press, 2002, Fanon, France, The Wretched of the Earth, Grove Press, 2005, Hobbes, Thomas, Leviathan, Oxford University Press, 2008, Locke, John, Second Treatise of Government, Hackett, 1980, Machiavelli, Niccolo, The Prince, Dover, 1992, Mill, John Stewart, On Liberty, Dover Thrift, 2002, Plato, Republic, Basic Books, 2016, Rawls, John, A Theory of Justice, Harvard University Press, 2005, Rousseau, Jean-Jacques, The Social Contract, Penguin Classics, 1968, Taylor, Charles, Philosophical Arguments, Harvard University Press, 1997. Recent developments in political philosophy, academic.yoop.com.academic.iup.com/edited-volume/36308, Annual Review of Political Science 2024, annualreviews.org.annualreviews.org/journal/Polishi.